You were in a conversation and somewhere in the middle of it, you lose the thread. Not because you weren't paying attention. You were paying attention. You were paying very close attention. You always are. But halfway through, something shifts. The words are moving in one direction, and the feeling in your body, the thing underneath the words, is moving in another. And you freeze because you don't know which one to believe. So you do what you have learned to do. You choose the words. You dismiss the feeling. You call it anxiety. You call it sensitivity. You call it your fault for always reading too much into things. And you keep going. But here is what I need you to hear today. That feeling was not your anxiety talking. That was your perception, intact, accurate, working exactly as designed, trying to hand you information that your mind had already been trained to refuse. You are not crazy, and today I am going to prove it to you. Welcome to Elisha Space, a sanctuary for healing, growth, and for the kind of honest conversations that actually change things. I'm Elisha, your host, a counselor, an author, and someone who has sat in the same stuck places you have. And if you're new here, welcome home. I'm genuinely glad you found us. If you've been listening for a while, I see you, and I'm glad you're back. This is part 2 of our series in spiritual gaslighting and reclaiming your perception. If you have not yet watched part 1, I want to encourage you to go back and start there. We covered what spiritual gaslighting actually is, the 3 forms it takes, and the neuroscience behind why it is so difficult to detect in the moment. That episode is the foundation for everything we're doing today. But if you are here for the first time, you are still in the right place. Today stands on its own. Because today we are not just naming the wound. Today we are rebuilding the instrument. Today's episode is practical, clinical, but pastoral. I am going to give you 3 specific body-based signs that your perception is still intact, even now, even after everything you have been through. And then I'm going to walk you through a somatic discernment practice you can use in real time, in real conversations, when you are not sure whether to trust what you feel. This is the episode you asked for, so stay with me. Before we get to the 3 signs, I want to spend a few minutes naming what the fog actually feels like, because one of the most disorienting things about recovering from spiritual gaslighting is that you do not always know when you are still in it. You might be physically safe now. The relationship might be over. You might have left the church or set the boundary, or finally said the thing you had been holding for years, and you are still not sure what was real. You replay conversations and you cannot land on a conclusion. You second-guess memories. You wonder if you were too sensitive, too suspicious, too wounded to interpret things accurately. You find yourself doing something I call perception auditing, reviewing your own experience with the same skepticism that was used against you, as if you absorbed their doubt and made it your own. And in some ways you did. Here is the clinical truth underneath that. When your perception is repeatedly overridden, when you are consistently told that what you saw did not happen, what you felt was wrong, what you heard was misunderstood, your brain begins to create a new neural pathway, a detour, a habit of checking yourself before trusting yourself. That is not weakness, that is adaptation. Your brain did what brains do. It updated its map based on the most reliable information it had access to. The problem is, the most reliable information it had access to was a lie. So today we're updating the map. Knowledge isn't just power for trauma survivors. Knowledge is safety. Before we move forward, I want to give your nervous system a moment. Take a slow breath in through your nose for 4 counts and release through your mouth for 6. Good, stay with me. What comes next is going to give you something solid to hold on to. Here are the 3 signs that your perception is intact. And I am going to give you each one clinically, then I'm going to ground it theologically. Because in this space, we do not separate those things. The truth about your body and the truth about your God point in the same direction. Sign 1. Your body responded before your mind could edit it. This is the most important sign. Before the conversation ended, before you had time to think, before you could weigh the evidence or talk yourself out of what you're feeling, something in your body moved. Your chest tightened, your stomach dropped quietly, quickly, your shoulders came up, your jaw clenched, your breathing changed. These responses originate in the brainstem and the limbic system, the oldest, deepest parts of your brain. They do not consult your prefrontal cortex before they fire. They do not wait for your rational mind to give permission. They respond to threat before you have finished processing the words. This is called a somatic truth response, and it is not, as you were told, just anxiety. It is not hypersensitivity. It is not your trauma coloring everything. It is your nervous system performing exactly the function it was designed for. Is there tension in your shoulders right now as you think about a specific person or situation? Is there a tightening in your chest when a particular memory surfaces? That tightness is not the enemy of discernment. That tightness is discernment. Your body was telling you the truth. Before you knew what to call it, before you had the words, before you had permission, it was telling the truth. Theologically, Job 12:7 says, "Ask the animals and they will teach you," or "Ask the earth and it will teach you." Even creation knows how to read danger. Your body is not less trustworthy than creation. It is part of it. God did not exempt your nervous system from his design. Sign 2, you notice the discrepancy. Here is the second sign. You notice, even if only for a moment, that was what was being said and how the room felt were not the same thing. The word said, "I love you, I am not angry, this is for your good." But the room felt like something else entirely, and you caught it, that gap, that mismatch between the content and the current. That noticing, that micro moment of wait, something does not line up, is not a symptom of your brokenness. It is a sign of your attunement. Your perceptual system was functioning at a high level. It was doing something that requires sophisticated neural integration, reading verbal content, nonverbal cues, tone, micro expressions, past patterns, and environmental data simultaneously, and it was flagging a discrepancy. You were gaslit because your perception was working. Let that land for a moment. The gaslighting was not possible without your high attunement. They needed to override an accurate instrument. A broken instrument does not need to be overridden. It is already wrong. They worked that hard to silence you because what you were perceiving was a threat to the narrative they needed to maintain. You were not imagining things. You were seeing clearly, and someone needed you not to. Theologically, Proverbs 20:12, ears that hear and eyes that see, the Lord has made them both. Your perception is a gift of divine design. The one who silenced it was not protecting you from deception. They were the deception. Sign 3, you are still asking the question. The third sign is the one you might least expect. The fact that you are here listening to this episode, asking whether your perception can be trusted, sitting with the uncertainty of your own experience, is itself evidence that your perceptual system is online. People whose perception has actually been destroyed do not ask this question. People whose perception has been suppressed temporarily by trauma, by systematic gaslighting do, because the perceiving self is still there, still watching, still tracking, still raising its hand from the back of the room and saying, I don't think that was right. The difference is that it has been taught to do so quietly, with apology, with the expectation of being dismissed, but it is still raising its hand. That is not the behavior of a broken instrument. That is the behavior of a truth teller who learned to survive. And truth tellers do not stop telling the truth. They go quiet for a season. They learn to whisper instead of speak. They carry the knowing in their bodies instead of on their lips, but they do not stop knowing. Theologically, Isaiah 42:3, a bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. You are not extinguished. You are smoldering, and God does not blow out smoldering wicks. He tends them. Before we move into the somatic discernment practice, I want to make sure you know about the START Guide. This is a free somatic regulation resource I created specifically for survivors navigating material exactly like this. If what we have covered today is bringing things to the surface, old memories, body responses you have been suppressing, a grief that does not quite have a name yet, the START Guide is a gentle place to land. You can find it at elishaspace.com. It is free, it belongs to you, and I built it for exactly this moment. Now I want to give you something you can use in real time. This is a somatic discernment practice, a body-based tool for distinguishing between anxiety and accurate perception, between dysregulation and genuine knowing. Because one of the most common questions I get from clients is, how do I know if my nervous system is giving me accurate information, or if I'm just triggered? And the answer is, you learn the language of your own body. You become a student of it. This practice is a beginning. Find a comfortable position wherever you are. If it is safe to close your eyes, go ahead. If not, soften your gaze towards the floor in front of you. Place both hands on your chest. Feel the weight of your own hands. Notice whether they feel warm or cool. Notice whether your chest feels open or guarded under them. Just notice. Do not fix anything. Take a slow breath in through your nose for 4 counts. Hold for 2. And release through your mouth. Slowly for 6. Now, I want you to bring to mind a situation where your perception was questioned, a specific moment, a specific conversation. Do not analyze it. Do not re-enter the argument. Just let the memory surface like a photograph. And now I want you to ask your body, not your mind, one question. What did you know? Is there tension there, a tightness in your chest, a heaviness in your stomach, a bracing in your shoulders? That is your body's answer, not proof of what happened, but data, information, the beginning of testimony. Let your nervous system hear that you are not running from it. You are not dismissing it. You are learning its language. You are here, you are listening, and it has been waiting a long time for that. Take one more breath in and release. When you are ready, open your eyes. Father, I am grateful that you made these nervous systems, that you knit together the very nervous systems that we are learning to regulate. I am grateful that you built discernment into the design, that you placed within us before we had the words for it, the capacity to know when something was wrong. For everyone listening today who has been carrying the weight of their own self-doubt, who has spent years reviewing their own memory like evidence in a trial, always ruling against themselves, I ask you to do what you do best. Speak into the place where the silence went quiet. Not to convince them with arguments, not to give them a list of reasons to trust themselves, but to meet them in their body, in the tightness, in the ache, in the old bracing that still surfaces in certain rooms, and to say, I made that, I live in that, that is holy ground. Restore what was taken, the confidence to say, I know what I experience, the courage to let their knowing speak without apology, the peace, not of resolved situation, but of a nervous system held in the presence of a safe God. You are not threatened by their questions. You never were. You are the answer to them. We trust you with this. In Jesus' name, amen. Here's your challenge for this week. For the next 7 days, I want you to practice what I am calling body check-in before the conversation ends. Once per day, in any interaction that activates something in you, before you dismiss what your body is telling you, pause for 10 seconds and ask, what is my body saying right now? You do not have to act on it, not yet. You do not have to confront anyone. You do not have to name it out loud. Just notice. Write it down if you can. One sentence. My body said, when, happened. That is your data. That is the beginning of your testimony. You have been learning to override yourself for a long time. 7 days of noticing is not going to undo that, but it begins to build a new pathway, a direct line between your body and your awareness that does not automatically route through someone else's approval first. That pathway is worth everything. If the series helped you, share it. Text it to one person you know is carrying this quietly, because someone in your life is sitting with a fog they cannot name. And these 2 episodes might be the thing that gives them language for it. Subscribe if you're not already. There is more coming in this space, and you do not want to miss it. Drop a comment below. Which of the 3 signs landed most for you today? I read every single one. The Start Guide and all of our resources are at elishaspace.com. And until next time, you are not too much, you are not too far, and you are not alone.